Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio Podcast. Welcome to podcast number 84. This is your co-host Jay Cheema with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire, the Puma, and our senior contributor Eric Burgess, aka the Burge. Fellows, welcome in to the NFL Draft Podcast.
It's Draftsmith Eve, right? Like we're on the home stretch. We're a couple of days out of the draft on Thursday. Can't wait. It's been too long. I've been looking forward to this all day. Like, work was shit, but I'm like, I just gotta make it till like 9 o'clock. Gonna record. Can't wait. It's been too goddamn long.
You know, I've been toying around, watched, first round coming up. Last year I watched, I think, maybe an hour and a half before I had to go to bed because I had to work early in the morning. And this year with my favorite team, I know we said it was going to take 5 minutes to bring it up, but with the Patriots picking at 15, I could stay up and maybe see a pick here. I am just dreading the fact that I'm going to stay up and I'm going to get the signature trade back on it. That's going to be a heartbreak, and let's just hope it doesn't go that way for my sake. I'll be pissed.
Yep. So podcast 84, we're going to hit on a few things. We're going to talk about certain players, stock that's rising, some players that stock is falling. We'll talk about the curious case of Justin Fields, some trade-up candidates and some trade-down candidates. But before all of that, I got two things I got to get to. First thing, Puma, congratulations. You and Mrs. Puma finally got hitched. You are taken off the market. So congratulations, sir.
Yep, I signed a lifetime contract to Tara Evans. I got drafted, and I don't have to worry about a 5th-year option being picked up. I got the lifetime deal, but no, it's great. We got married on April Fools, and we really didn't think about the date. We're like, hey, we got a date at the courthouse for the wedding. It's Thursday, April 1st, no big deal. I'm like, that's on opening day for baseball. That's kind of cool. And then when I started texting everybody being like, oh my God, we finally got married, and sent pictures of us after we got hitched, they're like, Brennan, are you fucking with me? Is this an April Fool's joke? And I'm like, no, I swear to God, I'll take a damn picture of the wedding, the wedding certificate if I have to. Let's do it. But no, for the first 15 people I texted, they all thought I was just messing with them. Like, nope, this is legit. I swear to God. But
the permanent plunge, gotta love it.
Oh yes, it's great.
Well, you're not a free agent anymore.
No,
got a lifetime contract.
Lifetime contract to Tara Evans. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, listen, I'm happy for both of you guys. I've known you guys as individual friends, and I know you guys as a couple. But it's really great to see you guys as a couple. It's pretty special. So congratulations, man. Life of happiness, and we'll see where it goes.
Oh yeah.
The second thing, Puma, I want to throw out a wager. The draft's gonna come up on Thursday night, and I want to put the over under at 32. The amount of times that Burge is gonna say chestnut checkers when the draft is going on. I'm on the over because I feel like every single pick that's gonna happen, Burge is gonna be like chestnut checkers by Belichick.
Chestnut checkers. He traced back for 3 Arby's gift cards and an iTunes gift card. Chestnut checkers.
Listen, come on now. Now, just because you said that, I hope you're betting the over because I'm going to do it just to piss you off.
Yes. Jacksonville takes Trevor Lawrence. That is just quintessential chestnut checkers by Belichick. He wanted Trevor Lawrence to go down to Jacksonville. That's going to help out the Patriots.
Get ready for the group chat on Thursday night. Let's go. Let's go.
Jesus. I got to double up on the whiskey at the house. Good Lord.
Belichick, after a 7-9 season where he needs to improve the roster, trades away his 15th overall pick, chestnut checkers.
Chestnut checkers.
What if he trades up? What if he trades up?
Oh, if he trades up, that's definitely chestnut checkers, okay?
All right, so thank you. Give it a little bit here. Let's go.
But if he trades back, then it's chestnut checkers.
We're really going to spiral right now.
Can we get that hashtag going on Twitter? That's
Well, my favorite response always to that is when Phoebe is playing checkers. I always love sending that back because it's so ridiculous. Oh man,
I'm literally sitting over here shaking my head right now.
Oh yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it through the headset.
Yeah, I feel like I should pivot off this quickly before it becomes a 30-minute rant.
It might.
Oh, don't worry. We're gonna take a break for 5 minutes, and then I'll go back to 30 minutes of ranting. I love it. This is what I needed. This is what
All
I
right.
needed in my life.
Let's jump into the draft. Let's talk about some players whose draft stock is rising. Every year this happens. You know, some people call it the lying season between the end of the regular season and before the draft happens. Lots of things get thrown out there. Some people shoot up the draft board. Some people fall ridiculously. So Puma, in regards to some draft risers, who is that one player that you think, man, that stock is rising like no other?
I mean, I don't know what, like, I have, I guess you could say, PTSD from, any quarterback out of Alabama, but, like, I don't see it with Mac Jones is why San Francisco would mortgage all their draft capital in the trade that they made with my Miami Dolphins to trade up to 3 to take Mac Jones when he was probably going to be there at 12. Like, I don't understand it. If you're going to make that move for a Justin Fields or, a Trey Lance, I can understand that. But to make that move for basically like, a younger version of, Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0 and hand the ball off 35 times, I don't understand it. But the other guy too, he's kind of chalky, but it's Penei Sewell, and I say that just because we all know that he was going to be one of the top offensive linemen to go, but we just didn't know what team he was going to go to. There was a lot of rumblings that Cincinnati would take him. My Miami Dolphins. I would love Sewell to be on my offensive line, but when you then see the Cincinnati Bengals uniform release, and then you look at Joe Burrow's scar from his ACL surgery, and I mean it still looks, Jay, you said it yourself, like it still looks swollen. That tells you everything you need to know. It's either you're taking Penei Sewell or you're taking the offensive lineman from Northwestern, but I like Sewell a little bit more because he's also trying to play both sides of the line. He can play left. He's been playing a little bit of the right side of the offensive line. He's been working on that during his pro days. So I think he's the chalkier pick that's been rising, but I really love Penei Sewell.
You guys seen that meme going around with the Bengals with Joe Burrow throwing the ball to anyone, Penei
Yep.
Sewell protecting him, and then
Yep.
him not having
Yep.
Penei Sewell getting decked? That
Yep.
makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense for the Bengals.
Yeah, and then the second one there's Jamar Chase sitting out there, and the ball's hitting him in the feet.
Exactly. It's like, do you get him a weapon, or
Yeah,
or do you protect him? I think that's
yeah,
an easy choice for the Bengals if it was me.
yeah. Birch, who do you see as somebody that's kind of rising up the draft board?
So I was also gonna go with what Puma said about Mac Jones. I mean, all you're hearing about him over the last month or so is how he has significantly improved his draft stock. Um, the San Francisco 49ers, I agree with you, Puma. I don't think you make that Godfather trade to trade up to get Mac Jones. But at the same time, I think they made that trade to get up there to basically have their pick of the litter after
Mm.
the top 2 picks. That being said, Mac Jones has definitely risen over the last month or two. Let's be honest. Like, we were talking about a borderline first round pick. I think the last time that we were
Hmm.
on this, recorded this podcast, he has jumped right up there. Probably going to be a top 10 pick. And you know whether or not you agree with it, it's probably going to happen. The other one for me, who maybe I'm a little bit on the outside looking in on this, is Kyle Pitts. I don't think anybody
Yes.
expected him to go, as high as, in the top 8 of this draft. But mock drafts nowadays are talking about him going number 4 to Atlanta, and it's because
Yep.
Atlanta has met with him multiple times, and they see a real fit there. And he's being described as a generational talent at the
Hmm.
position. So for me, it's Kyle Pitts. I would have loved. I remember right after the season we were recording on here. We were like, we love Patriots to take Kyle Pitts at 15. Maybe he's going to be there. Maybe he's not, but he's going to be close. Now there's no chance. He's going to go probably. I really think that Atlanta is going to end up taking him if they don't trade the pick.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Burge. Kyle Pitts is a guy for me that, while, granted, off the bat, I'll admit he is an absolute athletic freak. The guy is a tweener between a tight end and a wide receiver. It really reminds you of Calvin Johnson, and I do think he'll be good in the NFL. But when you start throwing around words like generational talent, could, like, some people are putting him into the Hall of Fame as a tight end. Stuff like it's a can't miss. I mean, there's no such thing as a can't misses in the NFL and in the NFL draft. So when I saw that Kyle Pitts was being talked about that way, I was like, yeah, I get he's good, but let's not like lose our shit here, right? He's definitely going up the draft board, and then obviously the chalk pick for all of us, Mac Jones. I don't get it. I mean, I still believe that if they moved up and gave up 3 first rounders for Mac Jones, I think that whole staff should be fired. I think the owner of the 49ers should look at his staff and be like, what the hell are you guys doing? Because I still don't see it. I think Mac Jones is listen, put it this way. Mac Jones was the bridge guy between Tua and Bryce Young for Alabama. And the 49ers are going to give up 3 first round pick to make him their franchise quarterback, a bridge guy for Alabama. I mean, I just don't see it. I think it's ridiculous. I think his ceiling at max is a Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's going to get into that stratosphere of like elite passer that Drew Brees or Tom Brady was. But it also goes back to the fact that I think Kyle Shanahan just has some serious disdain for Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if it's just, his injury history or whatever it is, but he seriously wants to get off of Jimmy Garoppolo as soon as possible. And he's taking a quarterback in Mac Jones that I will admit is, ready to go as soon as possible compared to the other 3 quarterbacks with Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields.
Yeah, what was up with that press conference today from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch? Like, they're going up to get a starting quarterback. Like, they, basically throwing Jimmy G to the dogs on that press conference.
And just to give some context on that, the exact quote from Kyle Shanahan today at today's presser was, we could have sat there at 12 and waited which one come to us if one did. But we made a decision that we felt we needed to get a starting QB. We wanted to dictate it. We'll get the one that we feel is best for us, which is, when I read that, I was absolutely floored, man. That's like flat out saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is not a starting quarterback. I mean, I've always thought that deep down, but for the head coach of his current squad to say that, I mean, that's kind of a big indictment.
Mm-hmm. It's also a big knock on his trade value should they decide to actually trade him, in my opinion,
Yeah, not a good move by Kyle Shanahan because, I mean, he should be going out there, singing Jimmy Garoppolo's praises today. Who knows? Maybe the Patriots bite and give him more than they actually should be. But I think it was just a badly worded statement from Kyle Shanahan in regards to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the Patriots were going to make that trade where they're going to overpay for him, it would have already happened. Mm-hmm. I don't think that price is going up at this point.
Yeah. Any other draft risers? Should we move on to the draft stocks of certain players that are falling?
I think that kind of puts a button on the risers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those were the 2 big ones.
Yeah, let's talk about the players that are falling off the draft boards, and I'm sure down the road we'll talk about Justin Fields. But is there anybody else that you guys want to get to before we hit on Justin Fields?
The only one I can think of is Devonta Smith, and really I think it just comes down to his size. Like, everybody is freaked out about what his measurables were for weight and for his height. And yeah, I get it that the guy looks like a string bean, but I mean, the guy plays like an absolute savage. He has incredible tape. He can stretch the field. He's a burner. He can do almost everything in the route tree. If anybody, like, a lot of teams have, like, the Giants mocked to taking Devonta Smith. Joe Judge, it's been reported today, I believe it was Jason Lockenfor of CBS. He was saying that Joe Judge is very high on Devonta Smith, but Dave Gettleman is kind of leaning towards, an offensive lineman or a linebacker. I think Joe Judge has enough cachet in the Giants organization right now. And you saw Dave Gettleman spending a little bit like a drunken sailor this offseason with bringing in Kenny Golladay on a free agent contract. I love me some Sterling Shepard, but he's not the guy. So if you pair Kenny Golladay with a Devonta Smith, I think you're going to be in good shape. So I think his stock going down is going to be playing to the advantage of the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about Justin Fields. For me, that's the player.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think everybody's just gonna say Justin Fields, so like I just threw out the other guy. But let's just go to the curious case of Justin Fields.
Exactly. I cannot remember the last time I've seen a prospect take this much of a beating in regards to the hype building up to the NFL draft. So Justin Fields is a quarterback out of Ohio State. Last year, before the season even started, it was projected it was going to be Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields as the 1 and 2. The season happened. The college football happened. For the most part, he had a good season. He had one bad game. That was the Indiana game where he threw 3 interceptions. And then he had a secondary subpar game against Northwestern, the Big Ten championship game, where for the most part, I don't put that game on him just because I believe 17 players were on the COVID list for Ohio State, including his offensive line, 2 players off the offensive line, and his top 2 receivers. So I'm not really putting that on him, but certain people are using that against him. But, after that, he went and took care of business against Clemson. We all saw on national TV, he took a massive shot and still came out slinging. But for some reason, the draft lead up has led to a lot of nitpicking of Justin Field, and I don't understand it. I still think he's the second best quarterback after Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm an Ohio State fan, but for some reason, I just don't get it when there are other concerns about other quarterbacks. Is in regards to Mac Jones, who's had 2 DUIs, which nobody brings up. In regards to Zach Wilson, who's had 2 major surgeries and 1 on his thrown shoulder, which nobody seems to bring up. But for some reason, there's something in this kid's past, in Justin Fields' past, that the scouts don't like, and they're starting to pick at him in regards to that. So I'm terribly, I'm a little on the pissed off side about it, truthfully. I think he's getting Deshaun Watson, because Deshaun Watson had that same sort of falling down the draft board when he was coming out of college. So what do you guys think about Justin Fields? What do you think is driving all this, speculation and just this haterade going around?
Well, Jay, I was going to ask, can you kind of give us a synopsis as to, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, there was a, air quote story that came out that people were questioning Justin Fields' love of football. Where does that come from? Because I don't follow college as much as you do, and this is an Ohio State guy, but I've never heard any questions of that prior to last week.
Well, the 3 main knocks on him that somehow came out of nowhere was he doesn't love football, he can't get to his second read, which is absolutely ridiculous, and he's not a hard worker. Those 3 seem to be the lingering, point at Justin Fields for not taking them in the draft kind of, traits. So I don't know where it's coming from, truthfully. If I had to speculate, if I had to guess, I think some of these coaches, these NFL coaches, are talking to Georgia, because before Justin Fields came to Ohio State, he actually went to Georgia. He sat behind Jake Fromm for a year, and then he transferred out. It was very hush-hush about his transfer to Ohio State. There was rumblings of something racist happening where he didn't feel comfortable in that program. And then he came to Ohio State and obviously lit the world on fire. But if I had to guess, I think these NFL teams are talking to Georgia, and that coaching staff still hasn't let that go. And I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. Now, obviously, that's just me speculating. That's not, informed. Nobody's ever said that. But I can't make sense of this. I truly don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, for me, he was a top 2 pick, going the whole NFL season, the whole college season. He was the projected number 2 overall pick, and I can't imagine what all of a sudden has come out to where he's now. You're not talking about him dropping out of the top 10. I can't fathom it. But as a Patriots fan, I love it. So leave it at that.
I would love nothing more for Bill Belichick to somehow land with Justin Fields, because I believe those 2 together could be absolutely lethal. The fact that Justin Fields is about 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds and still runs a 4.4, that is absolutely insane. He has a cannon for an arm. He can drive the ball downfield. He can read the field really well. You pair him up in that offense with Bill Belichick and the way they scheme and Josh McDaniels. I think we are, as a Patriots fan, we're talking about Super Bowl number 7.
Listen, I was very low on Justin Fields the whole NFL season. I was on record saying it on the podcast, but I've come around on him, and he's the one guy that I would be okay with them trading up to get. The one guy out of these 5, obviously exclude Trevor Lawrence, but he's the one guy that I'd want to trade up for.
If you guys watch Justin Fields' pro day and you watch him running his 40-yard dash, he actually stumbles in his 40-yard dash. That 4.44 that he ran, it could be faster. And, there's actually a meme out there, an actual picture of the Ohio State leaderboard. So in the facility at Ohio State, they're all about competing, blah, 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 right? And they stick the best metrics of a certain, test on the board, right? And one was a 40-yard dash, and it's all like 4.3, 4.3 for the wide receivers, 4.3 for the running back. And at number 5, Justin Fields ran a 4.39. Obviously, it was unofficial, and it was at Ohio State, so it was using their equipment, not the NFL equipment. But running at 4.39 is absolutely blistering, and the fact that he's 6'4" and can drive the ball downfield, I'm just praying somehow he ends up around 7 or 8, around Detroit or Carolina, and somehow Belichick goes up and takes him.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say too, Jay. Like I'm not the. I mean, it's well known. I'm not the biggest Ohio State quarterback fan, and it's the same for Alabama too. And I gotta deal with Tua Tagovailoa on my team. Hopefully he kind of betters himself this season with an actual training camp and him being the air quote QB1. But back to Justin Fields, I think a lot of this. I said it before in the group chat is kind of the stock exchange version of shorting a stock. Like we can look at Justin Fields as a company, right? We can look at him as a healthy company. He's been improving his brand. He has a lot of starts under his belt. He's got a great pedigree. But you have these people that want to short that stock to drive that value down so then they can kind of buy back on the cheap. And I kind of feel like that might be what some of these teams are putting out there to the Peter Stragers of the world, the Lock and Forest, the Priscos, the Ryan Wilsons, all those people where they're putting it out there saying, hey, I don't know about this Justin Field guy. Or, hey, Dan Orlovsky, I don't know about this guy. He's not getting to that second read. We're kind of throwing this guy under the bus, but I think some teams are using that to their advantage to drive the stock down, maybe like a Carolina. They don't want to trade up. I know they just picked up Sam Darnold in a trade, but they haven't picked up Sam Darnold's fifth-year option yet. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that they could just pull a plot twist and take Justin Fields out there and have these two guys duke it out in camp. So that's kind of my theory. They're just trying to drive the stock down. But my hot take, I guess you could say bold prediction, is I think all the San Francisco Trey Lance or Mac Jones is a ginormous smokescreen. I can see Justin Fields being, the man behind the curtain going to San Francisco at 3. I can't see him going past that.
That's an interesting point. I want to elaborate on that, but don't you think that San Francisco is already in a power position here at number 3 that they don't have to do all this? I mean, unless in your scenario, then that means the New York Jets are also hot on Justin Fields and San Fran is shorting the stock.
That's what I think's going on. I think it might be the 49ers pumping this out there, trying to get the Jets to not take him at number 2 and try to get them to, make a colossal mistake like they're notorious for making. And I think that it very well could be the 49ers that are doing it.
I mean, we saw this. What was it, like the 2017 draft with Mahomes and Watson and Trubisky? Like, San Francisco was picking at number 2, and they spooked the Chicago Bears into thinking that they were going to take Mitch Trubisky, so they mortgaged all their draft capital to move up one spot to take Trubisky, and San Francisco took Solomon Thomas at number 3. Like, this is not beyond the realm of possibility. I would not be surprised if they are just trying to short Justin Fields' stock, make the Jets take the nephew of the guy that founded JetBlue and has all these character questions. And, depending on who you ask, may or may not have been a team captain at BYU who hasn't had a quarterback since Jim McMahon in the 80s. So that is why I think it's all a ginormous smokescreen, and it's going to be Justin Fields at number 3.
What I don't understand is how can you go and take a guy like Zach Wilson over Justin Fields? Because Zach Wilson played in a shit conference. Please do not come at me with the Coastal Carolinas and the BYU competition bullshit. They played in a shit conference. On top of that, there's a lot of rumblings that he's not the best leader. Like, I mean, the guy seems like he's a spoiled brat. He gives off Johnny Manziel vibes hardcore. On top of that, he comes from money. Like, I truly believe that Zach Wilson isn't all that. Couple that with the fact that the guy has had 2 surgeries, one on his throwing shoulder. I mean, like I seriously don't understand how Justin Fields is gonna go after Zach Wilson, and the fact that Justin Fields was out there. I don't know if you guys paid attention, but one of the main reasons the Big Ten actually had football this year was because of Justin Fields. His leadership, being out there, talking to NBC, ABC, is one of the main reasons why we had college football in the Big Ten. Him and Trevor
Don't
Lawrence.
worry, he doesn't love football.
Well, listen, him and Trevor Lawrence were the two guys out there. Trevor Lawrence was being the drum for the ACC, and Justin Fields was being the drum for the Big Ten. And I just cannot fathom that this guy is going to go after all these players. I understand about Trevor Lawrence. I understand that he's the best quarterback in this draft, but Zach Wilson? Trey Lance? Like, Mac Jones with his fucking two DUIs and fucking Pillsbury Doughboy body? Like, I mean, I don't understand that shit. I really don't, man. Like,
You should be rooting for it. You should be rooting for it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, part of me is at this point just accepting and rooting for it. But like, as an Ohio State guy, as a guy that's watched him for 2 years, in my mind, he is the best quarterback in Ohio State history. Obviously, he doesn't have all the gaudy stats, or he doesn't have a championship to show for it. But just what he meant, what he got the program through, especially in this COVID year, it's just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of drives me nuts is, when they start putting Trey Lance at 3 over Justin Fields, and it's like Trey Lance has about as many starts as Mitch Trubisky had at North Carolina. Like, I said this on the pod the last time we recorded, and I can't. He is super raw, and Jay, you've said it yourself. If you're taking a quarterback in the first round, definitely within the top 5, that dude is not holding. He is not holding a clipboard. Like, it's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when. It's going to be by week 6. It could be by week 3. In the case of Daniel Jones a few years ago, if you're drafted that high, you're ready to play, and everybody to a man is saying that the talent is there for Trey Lance, but the guy is super green. And let's not forget, like, besides the pro day, or the pro days, because he did too, he played 1 game last year as a showcase, and he didn't even look that great. So, like, they're all going off of, like, tape. It's almost like the Jordan Love conundrum of, are you going to get the 2018 version of Jordan Love, where he was, top 5 in the country, setting passing records and all this? Or are you going to look at the tape of 2019, where he didn't have anybody, and he was kind of doing everything on his own? But at least Jordan Love had more starts than Trey Lance, in my opinion, and I just don't see him going. I can't see him going within the top 5 and holding a clipboard.
Yeah,
At
for
that
me,
rate, if you're gonna say that, you might as well put Kellen Mond ahead of Justin Fields and just really double down on that.
yeah, like for me, like I would rather. And Jay, you're probably gonna disagree with me on this, but I would rather have Mac Jones over Trey Lance. If the Patriots are gonna trade up for somebody and they're gonna have, if they do it,
I would too.
I would take Mac Jones over Trey Lance. I want nothing to do with Trey Lance. I would much rather wait and get Kellen Mond later in the draft.
Yeah, at least Mac Jones played in the SEC. I respect that, and this just goes to the point of, I truly believe some of these teams have no fucking idea what they're doing. I truly believe some of them just throw a dart against the board and like, we're gonna take this guy, because how, in what world does it make sense that Trey Lance has played 1 game this year, while Justin Fields went out there, played a Big Ten gauntlet through COVID, went on the national stage, took down Clemson, a Brent Venables defense, and then against Alabama still put up a good showing where Alabama was just a superior team and it was not even Justin Fields' fault. Like, in what world does it make sense that Trey Lance is going to go over that guy? Like, I just don't understand. I really don't understand, man.
That's why you laugh at teams that overspend and take quarterbacks high. Like it's very, very rare that you can find that real talent. And I mean, you can look at examples in every draft. I feel like that you're going to find these guys where these teams will overspend on these quarterbacks and they end up flopping. I mean, the biggest one that comes to my mind is JP Losman and like EJ Manuel.
Oh
You got these
God.
guys like that they just take because they have such a need, and they end up falling flat on their face. I mean, heck, you could go far back and look at Jamarcus Russell. I'm sorry, yeah, Jamarcus Russell, right? Like
Yeah.
you take him with the number 1 overall pick, and he's the biggest bust in history. So it's such hit or miss, and I'd rather if I'm trading up to make a pick for a quarterback, I want to be sure that he's got the talent and he's got the intangibles.
Yeah. Well, plus, like, I mean, you guys all know this. We've seen Tom Brady for the last 20 years. when a quarterback comes in as your franchise quarterback, like he is your CEO. He's the guy that everybody watches in the press conference. He's the one that sets the tone on a weekly basis. Like I would much rather have Justin Fields send that tone than Mac Jones. I mean, the guy who's had two DUIs, right? I mean, like I just feel like Justin Fields is mature way beyond his years. And for some reason, he's falling. And I'm just praying to God that somehow he gets to the Patriots. And I've said this a few times already, Puma, but if the Patriots get him, pants off, okay?
Yeah, great.
Prove
Pour
it.
more whiskey in my eyes. So, I mean, real quick before we move off of this segment or just keep extending it out, like out of these first round quarterbacks, we're not going to look at Kellen Mond, even though I love me some Kellen Mond. Like, out of these top four, top five guys, like who do you think is going to have the most success, and who do you think is going to be the bust? Like, who's going to be the Josh Rosen out of the group? Like Jay, we'll start with you. Like, who do you think is going to be the best? Who do you think or have the most success? And who's going to be the Josh Rosen?
The quarterback's going to have the most success out of this field is the quarterback that goes to the 49ers, which, if it's to be believed, is Mac Jones. As much as I hate to say it, I do think Kyle Shanahan, in his mind, believes that his system is superior. And it was that Jimmy Garoppolo was always hurt and is the reason why they never really succeeded. And then I think on the other end of the spectrum, I think Zach Wilson has bust written all over him. Like I just feel Zach Wilson gives off that Johnny Manziel vibe, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just the money aspect of where he comes from. But the fact that he's going to an organization that's always in the dumps, doesn't really know how to draft well. Yeah, obviously they've made some changes up top at the GM spot and Robert Saleh, but for some reason the Jets, I feel like it's going to be an uphill battle to win it in New York. And coupled that with the fact that Zach Wilson, I have character issues, I think he has the biggest bust probability.
What about you, Burge?
So it depends. Like in terms of like, are we going to talk about like numbers here? Because I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great season and great career with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've surrounded with a bunch of talent down there. They obviously, like we talked about, they have their draft capital this year to really go for it. Um, but in terms of winning, I got to agree with Jay. I think that whatever quarterback is going to go to the 49ers, if for some reason he ends up getting into the games this year, is gonna really take that team far, just based on the system, like Jay said, with Kyle Shanahan there. In terms of bust, I obviously love me some New York Jets bust quarterbacks with Jack Wilson. Oh, I'm sorry, Zach Wilson. But I also think that Trey Lance could very well be in that category. I don't think it's going to matter where he fits. I think that just because he is so green and has to, you know, really have some fine tuning to his game, that it could very well end up being Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with. I think Justin Fields. I think he could be the guy that has the most success out of this whole class. I mean, Jay, you were saying like for the longest time, it's always been Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields head to head on everything, and I think like you said, he's just getting Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to land in a great situation. I think he's going to San Francisco, but let's say he falls and Carolina does a plot twist. Like he couldn't be in a better situation with all those weapons that are around him, and he's on a rookie contract. Like they can build around a Justin Fields type of character. So I like Justin Fields. I never thought I would live to see the day where I would say an Ohio State quarterback is going to have
Yeah.
the most success out of a draft group. But like it's gotten to that point where me being one of the biggest detractors, you could say, when he basically fought through a jammed hand against Northwestern, and then he takes that shot that he did against Clemson, comes back after a quarter zone shot, and just keeps spinning the ball and was grinding through it. Like that is stuff that you need to be successful in the next level in the NFL. Like it's not going to be ticky tack super easy. You're gonna have to grind through games hurt, and he showed me a crap ton in that game. So that's why I have him as the most successful. And Burge, I'm with you, and it just comes down to the greenness factor. Trey Lance screams bust to me right now. As much as I want to put it on the jet blue nephew, I can't with about the same amount of starts as Mitch Trubisky had at North Carolina. I just have PTSD. I think they're going to rush him to start playing. He's not going to be ready, and he's going to fall flat on his face. I hope I'm wrong, we can put this on like old takes exposed, but that is what I am seeing from Trey Lance right now.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like if Justin Field ends up with the 49ers, I truly believe the guy's gonna be a superstar. And if Justin Field ends up with the Patriots somehow, like just lock it in. 3 years from now, Super Bowl, all right? Super Bowl win for the Patriots. Justin Fields is good enough to even take some dead weight in Belafort and take him to the championship.
Wow. Wow. Jay from the top rope. My God!
Hey, look,
He
if he's
broke
gonna be
him in
hey,
half!
hey, if he's gonna be a superstar in New England, hell, Belichick will carry him like Brady carried him in the first Super Bowl for that period of time. So you know what I mean? Like,
So
you want to
question
go
I
there?
have,
You
the
want to go
question I
there?
have,
We can go there.
the question I have is Cam Newton's wearing number one. Justin Fields wears number one. So does Justin Fields have to go with a different number? And if it is, what number would you like
Yes.
him to wear?
Yes.
12.
You fucking hater. You would say that. You would say
The troll's coming out. The troll's coming out. I'd like to
Uh,
see like a number. Let's say like 7. I'd like to see 7 in New England.
I was thinking number two would be a nice jersey, like a great little number two Patriots jersey would be nice.
That'd be solid too. That'd be solid too.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some trade up partners and some trade down partners. So, laying it out for you guys, the top 10, or let's talk about the top 15 draft order, and I'll quickly recap for the audience. We got Jacksonville at 1, New York at 2, San Fran at 3, Atlanta at 4, Cincinnati at 5, Miami at 6, Detroit at 7, Carolina at 8, Denver at 9, Dallas at 10, the New York Giants at 11, the Philadelphia Eagles at 12, the Chargers at 13, Minnesota at 14, and the Patriots at 15. So out of that group, who do you guys see as potential trade up and trade down partners?
New England and Detroit.
Yeah.
I think New England. I don't see Miami's not trading down again. Chris Greer. It sounded like a couple of days ago he was happy where they were at 6, and at 6, you can possibly take either the Northwestern lineman if Penei Sewell gets drafted by the Bengals. You can take Penei Sewell if he falls to you. You can take Kyle Pitts. You can take Jamar Chase. You're in the driver's seat at the skill position player and the offensive line spot. So I don't see them trading out. Detroit, we got, Campbell, the head coach, talking about biting kneecaps, and he seems pretty happy with Jared Goff on his roster right now, and I hope so with how much they had to eat in a contract. So maybe Jared Goff's going to bite some kneecaps. They'll trade back. I think that's going to be a pairing. I don't see Denver trading down. I do not see them moving up. I honestly see Denver taking an offensive lineman or a linebacker. So Detroit and New England, those are my 2 pairings.
I think for me, I can see Atlanta, while it's not, I don't think it's really going to happen, but I can see a situation where somebody gets desperate enough and calls Atlanta at 4 and says, here's a kitchen sink, let's talk, right? I can see that happening, and then moving further down at 5, I think Cincinnati stays. They got to get help for Joe Burrow. I think Miami stays at 6. They got to get help. I think Detroit's interesting. Puma, you just said it right now. I think Detroit could be open to, essentially trading down. And I think at that spot, both New England could be interested. And I know you said Denver isn't interested in moving up, but I think Denver might be interested in moving up to number 7, just 2 spots up to try to buck that, New England coming up and taking somebody at 7. Moving further down, I think Carolina is set with Sam Darnold, so I think they might be players to trade down. There's some rumblings today about how Justin Fields might end up in Carolina. Denver, we already talked about them, and then obviously the Patriots moving up. And then there's always this team from like deep in the draft that tries to make a push north. And it's always a little bit of a dark horse team because they got to give up so much, but it has definitely happened. And for some reason, I feel like Pittsburgh is going to be that dark horse team for me. I mean, we got Big Ben on one more year, and he's probably going to retire. They're going to need to look for the quarterback of the future. I wouldn't put it past the Steelers to somehow do some crazy shit and try to take a quarterback.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of gonna agree with all you guys about Detroit being a likely candidate to trade down in this draft. I think, like you guys said, I think Atlanta's set at 4. Like you said, Jay, unless somebody's gonna come in and massively overpay for number 4, like we're talking like more than what San Francisco got. I think Atlanta's comfortable picking it for whether or not they go with a quarterback or Kyle Pitts. at that point. I think that they're pretty set there. Bengals, like you said, they got to get the lineman or some help for Joe Burrow. Um, Detroit's very interesting. I think they have to commit to Jared Goff, given what they ate in the Matthew Stafford salary category, and what they're committing to Jared Goff in terms of money. Carolina, I also see them as a viable trade down partner, given they just gave up what a lot of people are calling an overpay for Sam Darnold. So I think that they're pretty set if somebody's going to come to them to look to get a quarterback. They're definitely a viable partner. I think Denver is a very interesting team in this. I don't think they're sold on Drew Lock, so I think there's a very strong possibility that they're going to move up to try to get another quarterback. The Patriots, obviously, we've kind of hit that nail on the head that they're a prime trade-up candidate. Whether or not they do it, it's another story. Pittsburgh's very intriguing. Will they come up and try to get their quarterback of the future? I'm kind of on the fence on that. I think that they're a prime spot for Najee Harris to land. They're in desperate need of a running game there in Pittsburgh, so I think that's a potential landing spot for him. I'm not going to rule out the Chicago Bears doing something stupid and trying to get one of these quarterbacks.
It's the Bears.
Because it's the Bears, and they got Andy Dalton as their starting quarterback right now with no real future plan there. I wouldn't rule out something stupid coming out of the blue with them to try to trade up to take one of these guys.
Yeah. The team that I'm also going to keep an eye on is going to be Washington at 19. They're right outside that, 15, 16, 17 range. And, they obviously, Alex Smith retired. Dwayne Haskins was a bust. They've got Tyler Heineken on their, and it is Heineken. It's not Heineke. It's Heineken, and he's on their roster, which, please, for the love of God, he's not a starting quarterback. He was a fun story for a week or so. But
put some respect on his name.
No respect, all right? No.
He was the best quarterback. He was the
respect.
best quarterback Tom Brady played in the entire playoffs. That's a
100%,
fact.
100%
That is a
fact.
Do you hear yourself? Did you say he's better than Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Drew Brees? Do you hear yourself?
Yeah, and the tape.
Yeah.
Is he better than Patrick Mahomes? Is he better than Patrick Mahomes?
Out of the playoffs? Yes.
Oh, here we fucking
Yes.
my God.
Patrick Mahomes, come on now. Hobbled Patrick Mahomes, come on now.
Brendan, I cannot believe you said with a straight face that Tyler Heineke is better than
straight face. We're watching the
Patrick
same
Mahomes.
game. We're watching the same game. The Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes was inept, and we're gonna bail him out for the bum foot and how he looked like Josh Allen 2.0 back there, short circuiting on the biggest stage, running for his life because the offensive line was a sieve. But let's be honest, Taylor Heineke was playing better than Aaron Rodgers, Ron. He was playing better than Mahomes. He was the best quarterback that Tom Brady faced in the playoffs. That's a fact.
Fact.
I have no response to that. That's
no disrespect to Tom.
I'm not pissed off for Tom's sake. I'm pissed off for Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes' sake. I will give you that he was better than Drew Brees because Drew Brees was a beat up, shell of himself. But to say that he played better than Aaron Rodgers had a good game in the NFC Championship game. Stats wise alone, it was a great game. I'm sorry. I don't get caught up in the one game. Woo, great storyline. For me, it's just all right, let's just die off and let's move to the next storyline. Just like it was Gardner Minshew a year and a half ago, where he had 3 good weeks and everybody's losing their goddamn minds. I hate those storylines where everybody just loses their minds for no reason.
I'm just saying, Heineke got knocked out of the game, came back, and still almost brought that team to win against Tampa Bay.
I'll guarantee you
that
this:
kid's got
he won't be the starting quarterback for the the Washington football team by week 8 of next year.
I honestly think.
Put your money where your mouth is. Place the bet. Let's go.
Week 8, there'll be a different starting quarterback. I can see him starting. I can see him winning out the job, whoever they bring in. Maybe it might be a new kid. I can see him starting for the first, I would say, 6-7 weeks. By week 8, it'll be somebody else.
You think he's going to start over Fitzpatrick right out of the gate?
No, I think he will. Fitz has that job.
I think Fitz has a job too.
I think Fitz has that. I think Fitz has it. No, I honestly think for Washington, because I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't see them mortgaging a whole lot to get a Trey Lance if he starts falling, just because of how green he is, and I don't think Justin Fields is going to fall past 3. I think Washington's going to get their priority in the first round is going to be linebacker because that was one of the weakest links on that team was the linebacker position, and then the offensive line because Brandon Sheriff, he got franchise tagged again. They're not going to tag him for a third time. He is going to be out the door next year, and he was one of the mainstays on that offensive line, when Trent Williams was there as well too, but he's the lone guy. So you're going to have to start building around the offensive lineman. If you can get somebody, there's a kid out of USC that looked pretty good. He might fall down to 19. I think you could possibly pull the trigger on that, but I think Washington's staying pat at 19. Linebacker or offensive lineman. Then they come back in the second or third round and get Kellen Mond.
What's your thoughts on number 17 and Las Vegas? And the only reason I bring them up is because we all know John Gruden is a quarterback whore. So, with that being said, I mean, if, Justin Fields starts falling, do you think maybe he starts getting antsy and wants to move up and see if he can take a swipe at Fields?
For me, it's a no. Mm-hmm. I think he likes what he has in Derek Carr, and I know Derek Carr is coming to the end of his contract. And, they had a potential out this year to get rid of him and move on, but they didn't take it. And they just got Marcus Mariota to restructure his contract there. And, again, we know what Marcus Mariota is, but he's still relatively young, for being a quarterback. So I think if Derek Carr falters, I think they're happy to turn the reins over to Marcus Mariota there. Because the small sample size we had from Mariota last year in Las Vegas was pretty damn good. So I can't see it. Maybe they get stupid and they do something, but I can't see it.
Yeah, and then
I think John Gruden gets a little itchy, but I mean they just cut or traded almost every member of their offensive lineman in free agency. They need bodies to block for Derek Carr, or you're just going to see Darren Waller the baller being in pass protection the whole season next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then as we move further down the draft, 21 Indianapolis, probably not. 22 Tennessee, probably not. Pittsburgh, we already talked about them. 25 Jacksonville, no. Cleveland, 26. Baltimore, 27, no. New Orleans at 28. Green Bay, Buffalo, Baltimore, and Tampa Bay. Yeah, so, I mean, I think for the most part, I mean, we're probably, as we get past pick 15 with the Patriots, there's not going to be much more of moving up and down from that point in my mind.
Mm-hmm. You're talking minor moves at that point.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. It's like move up one spot here, 2 spots here, just to get ahead of somebody to make sure they get their guy. But nothing earth-shattering after the Patriots in my book.
Right.
I'm agreeing
That's
with you.
That's kind of where like the first round ends is after 15. One can make a case for 20 just because Chicago is Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah. I tell you what, Puma and Burge, if we somehow get to 15 and the Patriots straight out, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Not going to be good.
Well, define what wouldn't be good. Like if you're talking, they move back to let's say they move back to 27 with Baltimore there. Let's say they move back and they take Kellen Mond at the very end of the first round. Is that going to bother you?
I'd be okay with that. But knowing Bill, he's going to want 19 7th round picks for the next 14 years. I think that's
okay. The coupon joke. All right.
That's where I'm.
I mean, it's a fact.
Shit,
But let's be honest.
Coupons.
Oh,
you get the coupons. You get the Arby's gift card. You get number 27.
7-9 season. We look absolutely atrocious. Need all kinds of talent on the roster. Bill Belichick seemed like, you know what? I would love to have 14 6-rounders because that'd be wonderful. Really wonderful.
All seriousness now.
Right there.
All serious now. All right, let's say Justin Fields goes. They'd have no shot to get any of those guys. You trade back to we'll go even as far as say 31 with Baltimore, and they draft Kellen Mond there just for the sake of being able to have the 5th-year option on the player. I would consider that a win.
Oh yeah, I would consider that a win. I mean, I love Kellen Mond,
and on top of getting additional 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks out of that. To me, that would be the best case scenario if they're unable to get Justin Fields.
That would be the best case scenario if you had a GM that actually kind of hit on some of his draft picks.
Oh yes.
So you're saying Kellen Mond wouldn't be a hit? The guy who loves Kellen Mond, he's not a hit?
No, I'm not saying that, but like if you're going to trade back and get all these draft picks in like the third and fourth rounds, like you have to hit on those. Like,
okay, so
I mean,
so he
I
takes
love
back
Kellen
and he hits on
Mond.
2 of them. He gets 4 of them. He hits on 2 of them. That's a win.
Maybe. I don't know. Bill Belichick kind of been questionable as a general manager. Listen, I mean,
Hey,
all
listen,
ribbing aside,
you
Burge,
saw the GIF.
if
You
you
saw the
get,
GIF I
if
sent
you
you.
get, if you get Kellen Mond at 27, if you guys trade back for a bunch of third, fourth round picks and an Arby's gift card, and you get Kellen Mond with the 5th-year option, I love Kellen Mond. We saw his pro day, and I get it. It's scripted. You're throwing in shorts, whatever. But like, you can't ignore the arm talent, and this guy can spread the field. Like he has a friggin' howitzer for an arm. The guy's built like Cam Newton. He has the same size. If you wanted to do power running in the end zone like they did against the Seattle Seahawks last year, where they almost won that game, you could certainly do that with Kellen Mond. But when you get all those draft picks, you got to do some shit with them. Like, God damn it. Like, I'm not even a Patriots fan. I have no skin in the game, and I've gotten to the point where...
Oh, shut up. You have skin in the game.
Waiting.
Get out of here.
We're waiting. Like, fucking SpongeBob sitting at the restaurant, booth, just sitting there waiting. Like, if you're going to do that, you got to hit.
Well, the only way Bill Belichick trading out, like if he trades in the second or third round, no, absolutely not. But if he does trade, like you said, into the late first round or even like really, really early second round and somehow walks away with Kellen Mond, that's the only exception is if we got Kellen Mond on our roster. Mm-hmm. Other than that, there's absolutely no conceivable way you should be trading out of the 15th overall pick when you're coming off a 7-9 year and you're devoid of talent on your fucking roster, okay?
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to be upset if there's a trade back there and they don't get the quarterback. I will be on your page on that, and I will admit to that next week when we do this after the draft.
Now, Birch, would you start drinking whiskey if that happened?
No, I don't drink whiskey. I don't drink whiskey.
Damn it.
Unless you want to see Angry Birds. No whiskey.
I mean, I would be pissed. I think that would be the perfect excuse to start hitting some Bullet Bourbon, some Elijah whatever, some
Listen. If I didn't have to work the next morning, maybe that would happen.
Oh, but just have your sweat be 80 proof.
I can't do that. My luck, I'd show up to work and I'd get popped with a freaking alcohol test. That would suck.
Shit. Well, we want to keep you employed, Burge.
Yeah.
You got to pay the bills around here.
All seriousness, though, like, I want to see a trade up. If they're not going to trade up and they can't get a quarterback and they're not going to trade back, Micah Parsons would be a great fit right there. Get the next linebacker. Jalen Waddle, if he's there, would be a great pick for them, and it would be maybe reverse the trend with Bill Belichick and his whiffing on wide receivers in the first round or in the draft in general.
Well, maybe this year he should take input from his scouts, not be that hard ass that walks in on January and says, all right, thank you for all the work the last 3-4 months. Get the fuck out the door. I'll make my own picks right now.
I was listening to the 98.5 this week. I think it was Zolak and Bertrand, and they were talking about that. It might have even been today. Like, based on Robert Kraft's comments, a few weeks ago at the owners' meetings, there's, everything's different this year. Maybe that's the case. I mean, you don't have Nick Caserio here anymore to just, bend the knee, so to speak. You got new people in there. They don't have the titles, but you got. Again, Jay, you and I have disagreed on Bill Belichick violently over the last few months, but I will not disagree with you about Bill the GM. I won't do it.
Give him the chair, Burge.
I won't do it.
Do it. Here comes the classic. Yeah, I can see that he sucks at this part of his job, but
No. You got to evaluate independently. But that's a discussion for another day. We can't keep going down this road.
I always just find it funny with Belichick. Like, I mean, he's the one guy in sports where he can be bad at 50% of his job, and the other 50% he's adequate at, and everybody just loses their goddamn minds.
I don't think it's
hilarious.
Adequate. It's not adequate. He is very, very good at that other 50% of his job.
Above adequate, maybe.
Okay. 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 I see where this is going. I'm not going there. I'm not taking the
Going
bait.
where? We're just pointing out facts. What's wrong with pointing
I'm
out
not. No,
facts? Can
there's
we
no.
point out facts anymore on this podcast?
I'm Tom
So
Hardy.
in
That's
all
bait. That's bait.
seriousness,
That's bait.
what before we get off the goddamn rails, I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals at 16. Do we know what Larry Fitzgerald is gonna do? Is he gonna
Nope.
retire?
I
Like,
mean, what? Well,
I can see them taking a wide
reports?
receiver.
Well, wasn't there reports out that Larry Fitzgerald was looking to see if he can extend his career somewhere else? And then looks like he got back from the market. Nah, not really. Nobody really interested. So, isn't he not retiring, or is he coming back next year? Because I thought he was retiring.
I
Well,
thought he was retiring, but
Arizona did just sign AJ Green there. They have Christian
the ghost
Kirk.
of
They
AJ
have.
Green.
You're right. I agree with you. They have Andy Isabella. They have Christian Kirk. They have DeAndre Hopkins. Do they need to extend themselves? I personally, for me, I think Larry Fitzgerald has earned the right to play in Arizona as long as he wants to play.
Yeah.
Given what he has sacrificed for that team, sacrificed going elsewhere for that team. If he wants to come back and he can still play, they should give him a contract.
Well,
But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but there's not much left in that tank, man. Like I think you've gotten as much as you possibly can out of him.
You think so?
Maybe you bring him in as like, I don't know, maybe like that like leader in the locker room that really provides stability because he's been there for so long. I mean, I can see that role for him, but I mean, with the talent they have on the roster now, I mean, I don't know, man.
It's tough. I mean, I think he's still. I mean, he caught 54 balls last year, still, and
Fucking vulture fantasy football.
I know. But
I don't know, man.
you know,
I find it hard that like if Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith falls to them at 16, that they don't pull the trigger on that. Like I find that hard. Like
Yeah.
I will believe that when I see it.
you know that screams a fit. That screams a fit there, especially with the young quarterback.
Yeah, and not to get off topic here, but I just Googled Larry Fitzgerald and Julio Jones' name came up, and I wanted to gauge your guys' interest in some of those reports that came out this morning about how Julio Jones is on the market and teams are calling about his availability. Do you guys buy into that, or is that just the same old story every single year? Because I feel like for some reason Julio Jones' name always comes up in the offseason.
No, I think this time around that actually has legs because I mean they can't trade him before what is it July 16th, whatever that cutoff date is. Because if they trade him before that cutoff date, it's like a $25 million cap hit. But if they do it after, it's $15 million in cap relief. No, that team is strapped for cash. I think if they're gonna dump anybody, as bad as it sounds, like they're gonna dump Julio Jones to save their salary cap. Yep.
Let me ask you this.
That actually has legs.
Let me ask you this: what do you think he's worth on the trade market?
Definitely a second, right? Not a first.
At least
No,
a second.
I would say a second.
I mean, he's. I mean, granted, what he was last year, and he was hurt and all that. He's
still
gonna
beast.
be. What's he? 32.
Yeah, which is not bad at all.
Oh, send him to San Francisco with Justin Fields, and we'll see what happens.
Oof. Oh.
Oof. Oh God.
Oh my God.
He's got the history with Kyle Shanahan.
Ayuk,
George
Debo
Kittle,
Samuel.
Oh my God.
my
Justin
God.
Fields.
Yes,
It would be
yes,
absolutely
and
insane.
and the 49ers cap it's not that bad. Like I think that I have to look at it, but like just off the top of my head, I think like they could kind of swing that, maybe restructure a couple of contracts, but yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Like go all in.
Well,
Could you imagine that? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That division, man. That division. My God.
The best division in football. It's been that way for years, man.
It'll be even elevated even higher with that trade. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I promise this is not a shot at Belichick, Burge, but like this is a guy who you give up a second for. Like I would not mind one bit if the Patriots went out and like gauge interest from the Falcons, and if they take a second, do it in a heartbeat, man. Do it in an absolute heartbeat because yeah, we have a good wide receiver room now, but it's like it's just good. It's not great, right? I mean, I think Julio Jones could still add a different bit of dynamic to that room.
No, I mean, if this team is really, I mean, obviously based on how free agency went for this team, it's evident that they're trying to remain relevant and remain in terms of competing for their division, a second round pick for Julio Jones would scream slam,
Hmm.
smash that button with that
Hmm.
trade. If that second round pick that they were to have to give up is going not going to impact their ability to go up and get the quarterback.
Yeah, yeah,
But oh god, I'd smash that. I'd smash that.
that'd be nice. That'd be real nice. And then we could finally figure out if it was Cam Newton, if it was talent around him.
But at the same time here, I think that the Patriots, given what they did spend in free agency on wide receiver, I got to think that they're not done.
Yeah,
I mean, unless they're really content on going with the two tight end, three wide receiver sets constantly, especially with Edelman off the books now, you got to think that they're gonna go out and do something in terms of getting. I would love this to come up on draft day, just kind of like Randy Moss did. That trade came up around the NFL draft. Be
yeah,
kind of the same thing, right?
yeah. That'd be nice.
Get him
Yeah.
to restructure and do all that.
Now that would be a chess, not checkers move. I'll give you that. But
Oh
when
god.
when when Belichick plugs his laptop in the morning, that's definitely not chess. Okay.
Oh god.
Do you think he plugs it in or the dog plugs it in?
Well, I mean,
I think Nike plugs it in.
well,
Nike
I
was
mean,
pretty solid as the GM
yeah,
last year.
yeah. But with the amount of praise that we give Belichick, I think people would lose their goddamn
God.
minds if they realize he can actually plug his laptop in. Oh, did you
God.
see the method he used? Just one clean, swift motion into the laptop.
My God. We're really spiraling to this point. Jesus.
Now I gotta ask this other question, unrelated to Bill Belichick. There's
Thank
been
you.
reports that Dave Gettleman is open to trading down
Wow.
from. I think they're picking at 11. Like, can you
Well,
guys see Dave Gettleman
I
trading down?
cannot. I cannot.
I can't either.
I can't.
Like, death taxes Dave Gettleman standing pat. And he came out. It might have been last week where he was like,
Yeah, I
I
saw his
keep getting
presser,
call-
yeah.
I got calls, and by the time they wanted to pull the trigger, the deal was no longer there. And it's like, well, Dave, like you were picking it second, you picked second, you picked six, you picked. Like you're telling me that the people were just waiting for time to go by, and they never pulled the trigger on trading up to number 2. I find that very hard to believe, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
listen, I think he's got to stick at 11, and I think he's got to take, a weapon for Daniel Jones because, Puma, I know you're a big fan of him, but I never was sold on him, and so far he's not lived up to the hype. And I think this is the year you got to figure out what you got on Daniel Jones. You've got to give him as many weapons as possible to see if he is your franchise quarterback for the long haul.
Well, I like to think they addressed that quite a bit before the draft here, don't you think? Kenny Galladay, you bring in Kevin Rudolph to go with Evan Ingram there. Like he's got quite a few weapons as it is to figure out whether or not he can do it or not.
Well, I mean, like, let's say if, Don or Devontae Smith is there 11 or even a Jalen Waddle, I mean, I would jump at that in a heartbeat.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
Trade out, trade back. There's a trade back candidate right there.
Yeah. If you can, offer part ownership of the franchise to Dave, you might do it. Jesus.
Oh man! So who's gonna be that guy that gets? Just throw a name out there. Who's gonna be the guy that's attending the green room on site in Cleveland and somehow starts falling and gets deep in the draft and it becomes a sad story? Because I feel like Justin Fields has that written all over him, doesn't he?
That's what I was thinking right there. He was going to be the guy I was going to say to you right there.
Yeah.
Nah. He's gonna be after. He'll be finishing his first cocktail when he gets called up at number 3.
Yeah. What if there's a shocker? What if the unthinkable happens and Justin Fields ends up in New York? That would be insane, wouldn't it?
Oh, plot twist! New York sports radio would be glorious. The next day, everybody's like, "Oh man, we're gonna get Zach Wilson. He's gonna have that swagger, that moxie, that persona that we haven't had since Broadway Joe was quarterback of the New York Jets." Stop it! Oh, if that happened, oh, good Lord, I might have to call out sick the next day just to listen to WFAN the whole day. Just to see everybody on suicide watch from Boomer and Geo all the way to Steve Somers when people are falling asleep at the wheel of the car. Oh,
You remember when they were calling Sam Darnold Sammy Franchise?
Sammy
God.
franchise, yeah. And it's like, did we not watch the Rose Bowl? Did we not?
Oh my
Or the
God.
Sugar Bowl, whatever it was.
I remember.
Oh,
I remember. I had a friend. You remember Ryan Sweeney, Puma?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he with a straight face once said to me when they drafted Sam Darnold that Sam Darnold was the next Tom Brady, and I was like, bro, come on, man. I like the kid. I know he's good. Like, why are you making me say some shit about him now? Come on.
Yeah.
That's why. Well, that's why I think Zach Wilson has bust rating all over him. Just because at the end of the day, like I understand the Jets have made some decent moves, but they're still the fucking Jets. Like I still think they're gonna cock it up somehow.
I look forward to watching it.
I've been
it's
watching.
gonna be great.
I've been watching a lot of British Amazon series about like murder and
I
stuff.
can tell.
So I've been
Jesus.
I've been dropping cocking it up everywhere here and there.
Love it. Love it.
Man. Now one last thing before we head out, Puma. So this morning I was actually getting my coffee ready, and somehow I got the coffee into my coffee cup without spilling it. Chess, not checkers.
Oh.
God.
Oh.
Not even one drop. Not even one drop outside the cup. Absolute genius on my part.
Wow. So for those of you that have Twitter, be sure to follow Pro Football Radio Podcast, at Jay Cheema, at Burge the Goalie, at Brando_Puma on draft day. And we're going to get #chess not checkers trending on Twitter.
Oh, God.
Burge, I expect your participation as a member of the team.
Hell no. I am not participating in this blasphemy.
Okay. All right,
God.
Chief. Don't worry. We got the PFR army heading your way.
God. Light me up on draft day. Let's go. I want to see it.
I can't wait. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be great.
Oh, my God. All right, fellas, we're at 65 minutes. Anything else you want to get to before we call it a podcast?
Nope. All I know is that the post-draft reaction is going to be glorious. I can't wait. It's going to be great.
All right. Well,
Jay, I was going to say, you prompting that was chess, not checkers right there. That was just beautiful.
Prompting what?
The way you prompted that, just being like, oh, you guys got anything else left to go here? Chess, not checkers. Gotta love it.
I'm just saying. I'm a genius. Next level. Mundane tasks. Genius.
On that note,
I'm going to go bash my head into a wall.
This episode of the Pro Football Radio Podcast and previous ones of the pod can be found on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review. I don't know how it works with the algorithm. I'm from New Hampshire. We just learned to carry the 1 in math class. So somehow something happens in the background with the algorithm when we get promoted up higher for people to find us. So leave a 5-star review and let us know your thoughts on this pod. If you have a question, we'll definitely be sure to get to it on the next pod. But be sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast, on the Twitter machine at PFR Podcast. I'm on the Twitter machine, Brando_Puma. Jay Cheema is at Jay Cheema. Burge the Goalie is at Burge the Goalie. We're also in the throes of hockey season, so be sure to follow Burge for anything Boston Bruins, or also just to see him go hard in the paint on anybody at 98.5 talking shit about Tuukka Rask.
Tuukka is elite.
Definitely worth the follow. Be sure to hit us up on social media. Our DMs are open. We would love to hear from y'all.
One last thing before we go.
Oh, here we go, Liz Taylor. Okay. I just plug it up and it's like, oh.
I think purposely Bill Belichick went 7-9 last year to
right,
make sure he's at the 15th spot, so he can be in striking distance.
Cut
of
the
Justin
recording,
Fields.
damn it.
Chess, not checkers. Chess, not checkers.
I'm literally Picarding right now. Face palming. Oh my God.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Via con Dios.